G'day ladies and gentlemen, Darkville here. Welcome to a Protoss vs Terran game that we have got from the NA ladder. Starting up at the top right hand side is our Red Terran play here for IVD. It is rough. And IVD apparently stands for intravenous drip. That's what I was told. That's what Zeph told me, and I mean, Zeph's usually right with these types of things. So it's an interesting little clan name, but rough up here. Of course, he's a Terran player that up in GM over on NA does tend to favor more micro-based stuff. So, you know, earlier, very aggressive kinds of attacks, those sorts of things are generally what we tend to see from Ruff. His opponent down at the bottom left-hand side, kind of a little bit of a reverse of that, but the Protoss version, of course. Down here in the blue for TT Seed, it is Bones. He is, of course, a Protoss player who's done really well over the past year. I've sort of been watching quite a lot of his replays. He's a very solid player. We've obviously got a lot of casts here on the channel. If you want to see more of Bones, just have a look around here on my YouTube channel and you can find some more stuff from Bones. He's generally a very solid, very safe, very standard kind of player. You get close to the word passive in a way, but he can definitely be an aggressive player as well at the same time. But generally, the common theme we see from Bones is very safe play. It's not often you'll get a cannon rush from Bones. In fact, I was just talking to him about a cannon rush just before that I did that was really funny. But I don't think I've ever seen him do any kinds of cheese like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as he journeys across Yonsu, of course the frost and grass map that we get to see quite a lot these days. It's sort of a map that Zerg sometimes have a little bit of trouble with. You tend to see the Protoss and the Terrans really liking this one just because of the tight spaces in certain areas, and of course the you know, the small distances that you need to cover to get across the map. But Ruff is going to be opening up, it looks like, with the 2 racks here, so we definitely will get some aggressive stuff coming out of the Terran play here. It looks as if Bones, he's sort of just this SCV, wow, somehow escapes the wrath of that probe, but now this supply depot is actually really low. He didn't put too much health into it, so this may be cancelled. Bones actually grabs a kill, slows down the second racks here, and the first SCV had to come back across and try and save the supply depot, but it's not going to happen. A cancel there. Wow, Bones getting it's not every day you get to see that. A lot of the time when I've seen that before, people just quit because they know it's over, because you slow down so much of the progress of your build. But Bones gets inside, sees the second racks, and he'll need to you know, just decide from now, what am I going to do? Am I going to play very safely, or is he just doing a little bit of a fake out? There have been times when Terran players do a second racks and then just go completely crazy and just decide to not make anything and just take an expansion very quickly, trying to put the fear of a marine attack in the Protoss player. But it looks like that is not going to be the plan here from Ruff. Builds an extra 3 racks inside his main base, and it looks as if he is going to go for an all-out marine attack. No gas coming up, so it's not going to be anything stim-based. Gone are the days when we used to see, you know, like the 5-rack stim marine pushes with, you know, the SCV pulls as well, bit by bit era. And, of course, Rain, if anyone remembers the old Rain, the Terran Rain, not the Protoss Rain I'm talking about. So Bones is seeing that there is that second racks there, and as I said, you need to sort of judge whether, well, do I need to be careful, or is he faking this one out? So Bones is grabbing just a couple of units at his front door. We've got a Zealot that's sitting up there at the top of the ramp. There's going to be a Stalker just checking through. A Probe is keeping an eye on the middle of the map as well, and now, as we can see, the expansion going up. So Bones is just going to try and keep an eye on what is going on. Checks up the top of the ramp, sees 6 Marines. There is certainly a lot more coming. We've got a total of 9 here for our Terran player. In fact, sorry, it's not 9, it's 11. I'll learn to count one day. And 4 more on the way, of course, with all of these racks just pumping out those Marines. Supply depots are being built just down the back here, so they're not susceptible to stalkers or anything like that. But there are a lot of Marines now coming across the map. Bones is going to throw down a couple of extra gates. There is a Stargate down the back here. This will be interesting to see if this gets anything out in time. Of course, an Oracle would probably be the pick of the units that you would want to get out. The first few Marines are now coming across, getting a few shots in on these stalkers, but it's only shield shots for now. Proton Overcharge goes down to protect the Nexus, and that is going to be just a slowdown on this attack with all all of these Marines coming across, the second push that these Marines will make can certainly do some damage, and given that the Mothership Core has just used up all of its energy, I doubt it's going to have enough in time, given the recent changes to Photon Overcharge. But Bones is going to get an Oracle out. His second and third gates are just about to finish up now, and this is going to be very difficult for him to hold this Nexus. I would probably guess if we don't see some sentries come out, we're probably just going to see him abandon that Nexus. There's really no way that you're going to be able to hold this out. There's one sentry. Alright, so he's trying to save some gas, perhaps for maybe another Oracle, or perhaps he's just trying to see if he can get away with defending this very cheaply. But no, abandons are natural. Too many Marines. Ruff is not going to take the bait and try and charge up the ramp. You do not want to do that because you could get sliced apart by those Zealots. And there is just one Marine to check. Yep, he says, alright, cool, there's a sentry here. Can't go up there, so what I'm going to do is take out the Nexus, and I would assume he's going to head home. But does he have stuff coming up behind this? There is a factory now on the way. We get an eBay, and of course a tech lab is now being built up as well. But there is nothing at home to defend. What is going to happen when this Oracle egresses in, and it looks like it is going to jump inside and jump on those SCVs. Down goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7. There you go, 8, 9, and that respectively is kind of enough economic damage. Like that's 10 workers, and all of that lost mining time down as well. Like, I mean, what has Bones lost here? He's lost a couple of probes that were trying to evacuate from the natural, and then of course he's lost that the Nexus itself. So that's 400 minerals for the Nexus. You've probably lost a decent amount of mining time, but now, as we can see, Ruff is sitting on 13 SCVs. Now he will have a mule or two every now and then, but it's not going to help him catch up. If we look at the income tab right now, around about 300, so that'll jump to about 450 when that mule comes into effect. This Oracle is always going to be about. So if Ruff actually wants to push out again, he's going to have to leave a couple of the Marines here, but actually, well, he's got a turret, so the turret should be okay to defend the mineral line for the most part. So he's going to leave some of them here. We've got a couple more Marines coming up. Combat shields is also being researched right now. Bones has not retaken the natural just yet. He's just now throwing down that natural Nexus, as he was investing a lot in making sure he had a solid grip on the natural. You want to be able to get these Colossi coming out, and we'll talk about why in just a second, but he got the Nexus just a little bit later, making sure that he had a couple of sentries here, some Zealots, the Time Warp is available on the Mothership Core as well, and a couple of Stalkers just in case something weird comes up. But Ruff has got a lot of Marines, and now this investment to say, let's get a Colossus out really quickly, is just a perfect decision here from Bones. He went inside the main, saw that there wasn't a huge amount of SCVs that were being built, and that obviously we're trying to get a factory, a turret, these kinds of things up and running. So there is just going to be a lot of Marines coming out. There's not going to be too much else. And now Bones, seeing that this big force is now coming across, cancels the Nexus and says, alright, you can have that one again, but soon I'm going to have the perfect defense against these mass Marines, and that is one Colossus, and soon to be two. Yeah, there's a second one. I was going to say, you generally want two Colossi when you're dealing with any kind of forces like this, as we just see the Oracle trying to get some damage done. Decides to throw down a Revelation instead, but generally you want two. We call this it's like a force multiplier when you have a Colossus. So for example, a Zealot, let's say that's one force there, right? A Stalker could be two if you've got good micro. A Colossus will have like 5, and then of course if you have 2, then that's 10 multiplications in total that you have for the power of the units that you have out. And that's especially evident when you're dealing with these very light, easy to kill units, we could say, given that the Marines are very squishy and get stomped on by Colossi. So we can see now that Ruff has done something interesting and has gotten a Ghost out. I believe this will be for an EMP to try and actually lower the shields on a Colossus and perhaps grab the energy on the Mothership Core, but I'm not sure how effective that is going to be, because the Colossus, even if they do take an EMP, are still going to do a lot of damage to these Marines. So Ruff is now going to push forwards. He scans forwards and tries to find out where are those units. He throws down the EMP, doesn't really do too much. The Marines now journeying up inside. Keep in mind the Colossi do not have extended thermal lance just yet. That is now just on the way. A sentry blocks off the ramp, does a good job of cleaning up most of these Marines up the top of the ramp. The first Colossus is getting a little bit, well, I suppose that's still just EMP damage there, but the first Colossus is just got to be a little bit careful here, but Bones is really easily cleaned up that attack right now. And speaking of which, this Oracle has gotten inside with the support of a couple of Zealots and is doing a decent amount of damage. Has torn apart a couple more SCVs. The Zealot has also done some good work as well. However, both of these units will be forced out, or at least the Oracle will fly out of there for the moment. And I would assume that Bones is just going to head straight across. Like, there's no reason to wait right now. You have two Colossi. Your opponent doesn't really have any tech at all. Looks like Ruff may be angling for the base trade, given that he is going to get a couple of medevacs out. You may be able to fly one of the medevacs across, try and kill off some of the pylons, and perhaps be able to just either delay the Protoss or, you know, as we said, just force it into a base trade scenario. Now, this will be a pretty sizable attack walking up the front door here from Bones. The factory is probably going to scout this out in just a second. That first medevac, in fact the first two medevacs have now loaded up. Ruff's going to see this coming in and he's going to say, what am I going to do with this? Looks like he's just going to base trade. We're not even going to bother with trying to come back to defend. The two Colossi are just so powerful, and with a third on the way, it means that there is no chance that Marines are going to get anything done. So Marines back at home here for Ruff, just hanging about. They know they're... I would be sure they know they're dead at that point, as those Marines are kind of thinking, well, what are we ever going to do against two Colossi and a third that's now coming in? What we'll do is we'll angle for this base trade. Heading up, he does have combat shields, but no stim, keep in mind. Oh, actually, sorry, he does have stim. My bad. So he will have stim, so he can charge through the Protoss base and tear up quite a lot of what Bones has. Bones needs to be a little bit careful about some of these Stalkers. You really want to be careful when you know there are a lot of Terran units inside your main base. Probes attempting to escape. Looks like some of them will get out of there. In fact, where are these guys going to head to? He does have 800 minerals, so he can make another Nexus. Looks like Bones is clearing out this base here. Ruff is going to lift up and look for the safety of the sky here as he now heads down with some of these SCVs, drops them off inside the corner base, rebuilds the CC here, and is going to continue on. He will continue on for some time, so we've worked our way into a very weird base trade with the situation currently sitting at 4 SCVs to the 15, 11 probes that are out of the map. They are being chased down by these Marines. These guys are just doing what they can to try and kill off the last remaining bit of the Protoss economy. And there they go, down go the probes. They were looking to try and find a secret base. Is there another probe out on the map? I think there's two. One on the watchtower and another one just over here at... how did that one survive somehow? I've got no idea what happened with that. But the Colossi, the Zealots, cleaning up the main base of Ruff. Keep in mind, he's got a factory floating about, 2 racks across to the top left-hand side, and then the CC and another starport are now going down inside that bottom right-hand base, but Bones has lost most of his base, as we can see here. All of his tech is now going to go down. The Marines will easily be able to clean this up here within the next 30 seconds or so, but a Nexus has gone up. Bones is going to try and save the day here with this Nexus, and we'll see if he's going to be able to do it. I mean, the tough thing is breaking up a ramp like this. Like, there are 3 Colossi still, but it still could be an issue trying to break up a ramp if we do get good positioning from Ruff. But that said, these Marines have only got +1 on their weapons. They don't exactly have a great shot of beating 3 Colossi at a time. But as I said, I think the best course of action here for Ruff is probably to try and split up some of these drops. Try and send them around the map. Try and approach this resurrected base over here. Try and maybe get in here, get a little bit of damage done, then come from the other side. Maybe come in from the front as well. I'm not too sure. But Bones has found that there is a secret racks production up here at the top left-hand side. He's going to remove the rocks and head in there. There is a secondary drop just over to the side here. Keep that in mind, guys. But as we can see, Ruff is now coming across. He can't defend this base. He has to just leave that there. Yeah, has to leave the racks. Can't do anything about that, but it does buy him some time. And now he's going to fly in towards the natural base. He is going to find it. There it is, he says. All right, I'm going to try and kill this off. Is Bones going to be able to... he does have a pylon. Is there another pylon? No, that probe is just hanging out, not doing much, but a recall. Recall comes in. Marines go down. They weren't really targeting anything, but they did hit one of the Colossi, and it looks as if both of the medevacs go down. So Bones is now in a really good position, 50 supply to 19. With those two medevacs going down, it really limits some of the ability of Ruff to be able to get around the map. And Bones, of course, knows that there is a CC down here. He's going to keep a Phoenix on top of this starport just in case anything comes out. A lot of the time, what you'll see in base trade scenarios is that Terran players will opt for Cloak on their Banshees and try and get a Banshee out, because it is obviously very hard to deal with a Cloak Banshee when you don't really have an Observer or anything. But that said, there is still a single Observer and also the Oracle, which can provide its the Envision stuff. So looks as if Bones is going to march inside, going to try and deal with this last remaining base of Ruff. The Mothership Core comes across, tries to defend. It's going to try and take out. Probably want to look to get rid of some of these Marines if possible, or the medevac, but the Photon Overcharge Nexus goes down. And Ruff is going to be in a little bit of trouble because that one Phoenix that has come out, I didn't even see when that got produced. That's really weird, but the one Phoenix has come out and is going to be keeping an eye on the sky. We can see that the medevacs have abandoned their post for now. They're going to try and heal up these Marines before they try and push in on anything else. Keep in mind, because Ruff has killed off his opponent's last remaining Nexus, he can see that the last couple of pylons are up here at the top left and at the top base as well. Marines running into a little bit of trouble, but they do kill off a couple of those Protoss forces. Bones does not have Blink, he can't jump on the medevac, so he's forced to just try and manually chase after them. But now we can see that Ruff is, I think he's probably considering his options here. He's going to have a hard time attacking into Colossi. Like, even just this one Colossi is going to cause some trouble because these Marines are kind of low. And with their extended thermal lance, that's going to make it even better here for Bones. But the CC is going to go, eventually that is going to go down. That one Phoenix should be able to keep that one alive. And here is the rest of the forces from Bones. I was going to say, where are the rest of these units? But he's dropped off a Colossus and a couple of Stalkers along with two of those Zealots there. And he is also keeping a probe just in case he can throw down an assimilator across to the bottom or to the left-hand side of the map there. But Ruff is just trying to find something that he can do here. Stim, I don't like the use of Stim here. I kind of think like you're wanting to heal up these Marines instead of just making the medevacs heal up more. But not to worry. Phoenix is going to try and take down that CC. Here come the Marines, the last final possible roll of the dice here for Ruff, and I'm really not sure if he can do it. Looks like he's going to try and come from the top angle where some of these units will not be able to fire. Presses the Stim, targets down the pylon. Can he get it in time? Last swipe of the Colossus could be it. There it is. One more Marine, G from Ruff, and that is it. What a crazy base trade here from these two players over on the NA server. Make sure you do go and subscribe to the YouTube channel here, and also come say hello on Twitch as well. I'll catch you all next time. Here, as you can see, 47 damage to bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really, really nicely there. And for Minigun, he's been sticking with a much more